So we're back on the 86 3/4 ton utility truck, and I've had this thing listed for a little bit, and well, all I've got is pretty much low ballers and I don't know, people who are saying it's not worth much money. Well, it's not worth a lot of money, but it is a running driving truck. It's not worth scrap value. I got one guy who wanted to compare it to somebody else who had for $1,500. They had a half-ton regular cab, 6-cylinder, 4-speed manual. The rockers were gone, the floor was gone from rust, and it was cosmetically trashed inside and everything, and that's just not the same truck. First of all, it's a half-ton regarding anything else, but I mean, I don't know. You can't compare it to that because 3/4 ton. You're saying, well, it's a long bed. Well, they never made short bed 3/4 tons, so you can't use that comparison either. So I mean, 3/4 ton is bigger frame, bigger brakes. It's a different starting point. If you want a half-ton 6-cylinder, get a half-ton 6-cylinder that's rusted out. I don't care. You go ahead, you buy that one. Don't come comparing it to this one. Anyway, you're saying, well, it has a couple minor things wrong with it. Well, yeah, it does. I listed it as, you know, there's a couple easy things wrong that you could easy fix, but you can drive it as it is. It's just, you know, need to fix a few things, and well, nobody's believing me that these few things are easy and quick and cheap to fix, so I'm gonna fix them myself, and I'll prove to everyone who doesn't care that they're cheap and easy to fix. So let's fix some of the little things with this that I was putting off for the next person and see if that makes a difference. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I sound a little bit grumpy in this video, but anytime I sell something, I have to deal with a lot of, you know, the usual people on Marketplace, and I respond to some people that I probably should ignore, but I apologize ahead if I'm a little grumpy, because anytime I deal with people, I get grumpy because I'm just not a people person, but take that into account for this video, please, and thank you. So one of the concerns people said was, well, you can't tell how much gas is in it because the fuel gauge doesn't register. Well, I know the fuel gauge works because it worked before, and I don't know anything about this tank sender. So, you know, I guess I got to stop being honest on listings and telling people what I really think. Somebody said they were assuming that the floor was rusted out because the seat wasn't bolted down, even though I said in the listing that it just didn't have any brackets. Well, I mean, the floor is not rusted out. Anyway, nobody wants to believe me. What I'm going to do is pull this sender out, make sure everything's okay. I mean, it could be our connection here too, but I don't think that's it. I can pull the sender out and verify it, bench test it out of the truck. I'm assuming the tank ground is okay. I didn't put a ground strap on here, but it's got many different points where it's grounded to the truck body, so I don't know. Let's pull this out and take a look at what we got. This is, if you've never done one of these before, this is just a ring, a lock ring, and what you do is you see this inner ring here has tabs, and it's locked into the outer ring, which has these push down areas that put pressure against to lock it in. And of course on the inside of that is your sender. So you spin this inner ring and then you pull the whole assembly out. When these slide into the line up with these grooves, and the thing can slot out. Let's do that. It's pretty simple. Out of here. Oh, it doesn't have a sender on it. Well, that could be part of the problem. That was easy enough. Just got to buy a new sender. I'm gonna look down in there and make sure it's not hanging in there. So in case you couldn't see that, here's the lock ring I was talking about. When you put it on, it just goes in there and then slots in, you know, to the other piece in the tank. Anyway, we were missing the actual float sender unit, so that's easy enough. I believe these are even relatively cheap. We'll just buy a new one, which is good because this filter, I'm kind of surprised this filter didn't fall off in the tank. Looks like somebody, the last person, just pulled it off because they didn't want to mess with it. That's fine. We'll just get a new one and slot her in there. Okay, so one of the things with this was when it's sat for a while, when it's cold, you need to dump a little bit of gas down the yap to get it to start. And I don't know if it's choke adjustment or anything. It's just, this is, you know, some time and adjustment that I didn't want to put into it that the next person would have easy got a good deal on. But first, let's check the accelerator pump. It should squirt out a little bit of gas when I bump the throttle. Hold the choke open. Give her a squirt. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see that, but the accelerator pump is working because it squirted a little bit of fuel down there. It could be when I go to start it, maybe I don't pump the throttle enough or what have you, but we'll play around with that when we have the fuel pump back in. All right, what else? So cosmetically, it doesn't have a glove compartment. This shouldn't be a big worry in an old truck like this, and quite frankly, I'm not sure why people are nitpicking about things like this. And you have like exposed door speakers, and I don't understand it. Anyway, it's not that hard to put one in. You can go find one easy at a junkyard or online and, you know, put one in if you so desire. I've got this old one here. I'm just gonna slot in really quick. It doesn't even have, the last person who put this in the last truck, the hinge is broken. There's a hinge piece that sticks out below this, and all they did was screw through this and not tighten the screws down so you could open and close it. I'll just do the same thing. Worked fine for the last person. It'll work fine for this. And then people can't complain that it doesn't have a glove box. I guess people have lots of gloves that they want to store or something. I don't know. Okay, so a couple minutes and you can have a glove box. It's not that hard, guys. And if anybody wants to do that right, they can just go online, buy the plastic insert with the hinge on it. I mean, they're not that expensive. I don't want to take the time to order it and, you know, put that money into it, you know, get back anyway. But okay, it has a working glove box. Can't complain about that now. I also want to note that in my area, there's not that many square bodies for sale. Square body 3/4 tons with a utility bed. And the reason that these are special is these utility bodies are cut out from the factory, well, the Napahide factory or whoever makes your utility bed. They're cut out a little narrower down here for the side saddle tanks. You can't just slap any utility body on these trucks. So to find a square body with a utility body is, you know, they're a little bit more rare than you might think. You can't just buy a square body and slap any utility body on it. Now, I will grant you this utility body isn't perfect, but somebody who was really good at welding or whatever could do some patching on this thing and fix it up pretty quick. If you already have the welding equipment and everything and you just, you know, you want a day's project, you can just fix that up. The rest of it is pretty solid, and inside the bins are pretty solid. You know, it's all ready for shelves if you can find a buy. I never bought shelves because I used stacked boxes in here, but you know, just buy some shelves like this and you can outfit it how you want. But you know, it could use probably a little wiping and cleaning down, but it's there. It's not terrible. It's not like it has massive holes in it or anything. I mean, the bed could use some help, but again, the bed is there and it's structurally there. It just has some issues, cosmetic issues. I'll probably bolt the seat down with these brackets. It just won't be adjustable. I'll have to look into that once I have the fuel tank issues resolved. That's fine. I will look into that. So one guy gave me a real hard time about these headlights not working properly. He's like, oh well, the truck has all kinds of electrical issues. No, it's just the headlights don't work, and I'm selling it cheap enough that I figured I didn't need to take the time to troubleshoot that. It's fairly simple if you know even anything about electricity. So I guess we'll take care of that. I'm gonna plug my battery in and see what's going wrong with that. Probably order 2 new headlights, because I think before one worked on high beam, one only on low beam. That's fine. Headlights aren't expensive or difficult to replace or anything. You just got to take the time to do it. So let's work on that and see where we get. Well, I want to note, anybody who's seen this puddle of water on the floor, it rained really hard last night and I made the mistake leaving this floor vent open. And the whole truck is on a slope here. It's tilted that way. So all that water running down the inner fender wants to go back into that vent. You know, the seals are old around the thing, and if it's straight up and down, you're usually pretty good, but I always make sure to close these when it rains anyway. But I forgot and left it open. So for those of you wondering, the truck doesn't really leak. This is from the vent. This truck has this nice new rubber floor in it too. Nobody seems to care about that. When I got it, the thing was destroyed. I got this truck right at the start of my channel, and before I started filming things, I did all the work on this truck because this was going to be the basis for all the jobs and work I did on the channel, and it was for a number of years. But I should have started filming early on, because these rockers, when I got it, were completely rusted out. The floors were rusted out. I put new pans in there and new rockers on both sides. I guess I have some of the early videos. I showed some pictures of what it looked like because I didn't have any footage, but if you're interested, you can go back and see that. But when I got it, this thing was in much worse shape, and I don't know why. I'm having trouble even selling it for what I bought it for. I don't understand. So, you know, I understand I put these rusty fenders on it, and they're not great, I will freely admit. But they're there, and the basis of the truck is there. If you want to replace the front end or something, I showed how easy that is. I just put this front end on it because I don't want to put any more money into it. If somebody else wanted to, it's fairly simple. You can get fenders for like $250. You can get a hood for a couple $100, and then you're good. And these things have been off recently, so you know they're not rust welded or anything. Really easy to take off. You can put them in. You can get a new battery tray, all those things. You just got to put a little money into it if you want to. That's accounted for in the price, but people don't seem to accept that. I guess they want a perfect truck for free, but yeah, where were we? My ranting and raving, just ignore that. Headlights, I gotta hook up the battery. All right, battery's hooked up. Let's turn the headlights on. We're getting marker lights, not getting any headlights. That's markers on, you can see it there. I think maybe the headlights just finally gave up the ghost and burned out from, you know, being bumped around while I replaced this front end. But like I said on the listing, they needed replaced anyway. I'm gonna check for power at these plugs, even though it's so close to the other plugs down there. I'm relatively sure they're getting power, but let's test them out. Where's my meter? Okay, so this is not this difficult. Turn the lights on. I have my meter hooked up here. You can easily see which is ground because this wire goes right to ground. So one of the others is going to be our low beams. It's not that one. That's that one. So you can see we're getting voltage. So let's put it on high beam, or whatever the other one is. I don't know if it's on high beam right now. And you can see we're getting voltage on that one. So yeah, it's just our headlights that are burned out, like I had said in the listing, and nobody believed me. Which, if you come and look at it, you could easily verify this yourself in 3 seconds. I'm not asking a lot of money for this truck here, people. but I guess I'll put new headlights in it. All right, so what else? Well, there's the cold starting. That's probably tuning on this carburetor. Can't do that till I get the fuel pump and everything, and then I can actually run the engine. Not the fuel pump, the fuel pickup and sender, and then I can run the engine. There's one more thing, which there's oil pressure. I'll show you a clip here. I manually measured the oil pressure a long time ago, back when I first started, got this truck. And it runs 60 psi from a mechanical gauge. I just wanted to show some old footage here when I was testing the gauge. I have a mechanical gauge here hooked up in place of the oil pressure switch. The oil pressure sender for the gauge is still in place. And I just want to show the difference in oil pressure. If you look on the dash, the old one will only register about 15 psi no matter how high you rev it, no matter what you do. The gauge calibration is off, but if you go over here to the mechanical gauge, it's putting out 60 psi. So the oil pressure is nice and healthy, it's just the gauge calibration is off. I just wanted to show that because anybody looking at that gauge is going to think the oil pressure is a little low. But this gauge is not calibrated correctly, but I believe we can fix that because I have a bunch of square body gauges that I can pull the resistors off the back and hopefully swap out the right one. Again, the engine has to be running for that. I'm just going to pull this off, pull the front of the gauge cluster off, pull that individual gauge out, change the resistor on the back, and basically plug it in and out until I get the right resistor. So that is not difficult. Again, we got to have the engine running for that, so we're going to wait on that. There's a couple other little cosmetic things, like the gauges are very cloudy, but that is literally a $60 piece off of eBay. They make repop pieces for that. You can get a reproduction, and it's very easy to put on. I'm not going to do that. Somebody's really going to complain that much. Goodness gracious. I mean, but, even the dome lights work on this thing. This is, I put new switches back in it back in the day, and there's some new wiring and things for that. And I put new door seals on it after I did the metal work. And it's got a lot of little things done to it. It's not been sitting in a field for 20 years, and somebody pulled it out and is trying to sell it for a lot of money. And the doors shut like square body doors. I'm not trying to hide any of that stuff. Maybe I was too honest in the listing. Maybe I shouldn't have listed all the little tiny things that are wrong with it, but yeah. But guys and gals, I literally spent like just half an hour just doing those quick things that I showed right there. And some of that was because I'm walking over to my truck to get tools rather than backing right up over here or moving the truck. I mean, it's not that difficult. So the next stage, I got to order some of the parts. It's probably less than $100 worth of parts, which, now I'll probably have to raise the price of the truck, but it is what it is. I'm going to put some parts into it to make people feel a little bit better, since nobody can troubleshoot themselves these days, and then we'll get back to you when we can run the engine again and do the tuning and all those little things. And guys, maybe my expectations are a little low for buying an old used truck, but I mean, this is a 1986 truck. My expectation wouldn't be that it would be in tremendously good shape, especially for a couple $1,000 buying it, but I don't understand where people are coming from on this either, because if you're buying an old truck like this, you're probably going to expect to fix a few little things to make it to your liking, or I mean, you're not gonna, if you find a perfect square body like this, you're looking at $10,000-$15,000, because somebody has put in all the time and effort and money to troubleshoot it and work out all the kinks. I've been driving this for 2 years working out the kinks, guys. There's not much kinks here. I mean, mechanically it runs and drives. It's going to get you where you want to go. Again, this isn't something that I pulled out of a field and haven't tested or road driven it. I put a lot of miles on this truck, and it's very dependable. I can tell you what the engine compression numbers are and all the pressures and temperatures, and it's run great. And I know it hasn't been overheated and run into the ground, and I know a little bit of the history of it, at least when I've driven it. And, you know, so this isn't an unknown vehicle I'm selling here either. And a lot of you, when you get down into the $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 truck range for pricing, you're buying an untested rig that may not even run. So I really don't understand where people are coming from, because for $2,500, you know, pretty much $3,000 on down, you're buying an old truck like this. You have, probably the person selling it doesn't have a very good idea what's wrong with it either and what might go wrong. So, you know, this is, I don't know. That's my thought process. If you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, I don't know. If I'm just spouting off stuff that doesn't sound right here, straighten me out in the comments down below. Tell me what you really think. You know, I want to know. I'm curious, because I bought a lot of these trucks and I've sold a lot of them. I don't know if I've ever had this much trouble before. Maybe it's just the economy. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. I should also mention, as another just quick point, I didn't just price the truck on Facebook Marketplace randomly. I went online, I looked for similar trucks and, you know, in the general area, and I priced it according to those as a starting point. You know, I'm negotiable. I'm willing to go down, not the scrap value, but I'm willing to go down. And, you know, if I'm going to sell the scrap value, I'll just park it out back. And because this drivetrain is worth money to me, because I know it's dependable. Well, I got new sender tank. I got comes with a new ring and gasket. I didn't show that very well. You just stretch the gasket over the top so it goes between the tank and the sender, and then you put the ring on over top of the sender. And you spin this ring into position. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And then, where's my fuel line? Just gotta get my fuel line, hook that up. Alright, put my metal stub line here. Okay. Now we can test the gauge, ignition. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if the gas gauge moves. Oh, well, we gotta hook up the battery. All right, let me, hold on. All right, battery's hooked up. Haha, it's moving. Okay, we got gas gauge. I know it's practically on empty because there's hardly any gas in it. So that's all it took, guys, for that gas gauge to work. I can't believe the hissy fits people were throwing. And even when I tell them that it just needs a sender, which you can do in 10 minutes, I don't understand people. I mean, if you don't want to believe me, just come and look at it yourself. You can ground that connection, that wire, and you can know the gas gauge works because you can make the needle move. I don't understand people sometimes, but that's all it took to fix the gas gauge. All right, I have a set of headlights here that we're going to throw on. I don't know if I'm going to do that today though, because it's starting to get dark, and while that is the time to throw headlights on, I don't know, maybe I will. Wait for my tractor battery to charge. Sure, why not? So here again, guys, this isn't really hard. All you got to do is take out 4 screws that hold this on. frankly, I don't know if people don't know how to change headlights or don't want to change headlights. I'm not sure why they're looking at buying an old truck for not a lot of money. I don't understand it. That one's missing. Oh, there's one down here. Alright. So, I mean, there's that. And then all you gotta do is take out the screws holding this chrome ring on. Make sure not to drop them. That one may not come out. Wow. Alright. Where's my drill? I'll drill out some of the bolts, but that's fine. All you gotta do is tie it in, you know. I mean, yeah, that's pretty solid. All right. That on. Don't forget to plug your headlight in. Test it out here quick. Works. That's the high beams. That was high beams, low beams. Like seriously, guys, that's really all it takes. I don't understand. Maybe I'm getting old. I mean, this isn't a pristine front end, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You won't want to make it perfect anyway, unless you're replacing a lot more parts, like the headlight buckets and all this stuff. And I've said 1,000 times before, this truck is fine mechanically for the most part. I mean, it's old, but okay, I'll just do that on the other side. All right, both replaced. Let's test them out. All right, there's low beams. There's high beams. That's all it takes. So, I mean, that was only a couple minutes work to replace those two headlights. I didn't record the whole thing because my camera battery's gone dead, but I mean, you can see it's not that difficult. About 2 seconds left on the camera battery. So we got the fuel sender in, fuel gauge works, headlights fixed. I mean, now there's no electrical issues on the truck. So tomorrow it's starting to rain here and drizzle and getting dark. We can work on the tuning, and what else? We got to bolt the seat down. That's pretty much it. All right, well, we can't test the AC and stuff on that yet, and we can't do anything on that, and we got to order some parts for that. I don't know, maybe we work on that hunk of junk back there. Sure. Well, I will say one nice thing about having a regular bed on a service truck like this is you have a tailgate, acts as a seat when you get really depressed and you just need a place to crash, and you've given up on the world, and the world has given up on you, and everything is going to crap in a handbasket. So yeah, I mean, that's one nice feature. So cheers to that. I don't know. Everything's gone wrong. Okay, so one other thing I want to address on this is the oil pressure gauge. It works, but it's not calibrated correctly. It only goes up to 15, and this thing has 60 psi of mechanical oil pressure. So we're going to strip the front of these gauges out to pull that oil pressure gauge off, and that's just pull this bezel off, and yeah, well, I'll show you. Okay, so you strip that bezel off, and then you just have to take this glass portion off. There's a couple screws here. You just take them off, and then you can pull the front of that off. Let's do that. All right, took those screws out, and we can just take that plate off. Make sure not to lose your screws, drop them everywhere like I did. And then this plate can just pop off ever so gently. Gently, there, like that. Yep, gently. Don't forget to be gentle. And then there's two screws here to take this gauge off. Sure to throw your screws down on the floor where you're bound to lose them. And then this gauge just pops right out of there. Now this strip on the back with the blue mark on it, that's a calibration resistor. The color code means what resistance it is, and I don't know what that is, but we're going to figure out what the right one is. I'm going to pop that back in and start the truck. And then I'll get some calibration resistors and play with that, but first I'll get the truck going here. Alright, shove some gas down the yap. As you can see, it only goes up to about 15. And it does rate a little bit higher when it's cold versus when it's warm. So it has a range, it just doesn't have a high enough range. So let's shut her down here and check out this resistor. So this is what different resistors look like. They have a color code like that, and I don't know off the top of my head what the resistance is for them or anything, but basically you just swap it out. You know, you could measure this with a meter and see what the proper one is, but I don't know what the proper one is, so we're just gonna wing it here. Okay, we're just gonna try the orange one, completely random, but without knowing or measuring with a meter or taking the time to actually do any real work, you know. Let's try it again. First you want to check your zero position. It's basically zero. Ah, there we go. Yeah, see, I know it's about 60 and it's not pegging. It's capable of going beyond 60 and it's not, so that's what we want. Shut her down. What's my choke light? Oh, there we go. Okay. Make sure it goes, make sure it returns to zero. Okay, that's all it is for gauge calibration. Easy peasy. That's been on my list of things to do on this truck for a few years, but again, don't just swap them out without knowing what your target is. And I know it runs at about 60 cold on a cold start from checking it mechanically, so don't just swap them out if you don't know what it is. You need to know a target for calibration for it, you know, at least a zone for calibration. So all right, we can put this cluster back together, and that's it for that. All right, I now have the seat bolted down. It's just fixed brackets because that's all I had. I don't have the slider brackets, but you know, for all those people complaining that the seat wasn't bolted down, there you go. I had one guy who said, well, the seat probably isn't bolted down because it's been rusted out down there, and I guess he didn't even look at the pictures. You know, people just want to lowball you without even coming to look at the truck, or you know. Anyway, she's bolted down now, and you know, for a $3,000 truck, even the dome light works. This is it's got seat belts. Now it has seat belts. Just there you go. I mean, it has seat belts and everything, and what kind of $3,000 truck, for starters, even has seat belts? But, you know, the interior is mostly complete. It's all there. So there you go. I mean, like, literally everything works on this truck. So the only thing remaining is the tuning, and now I gotta wait for it to cool down again to tune it, because now I was just playing with the oil pressure gauge, because it's just on the cold start that it doesn't like that. So I know, what I do know is the choke does close properly when you tap that throttle the first time. So you gotta tap the throttle the first time to get the choke to close. It is adjusted to open properly. It shouldn't need any adjustment for temperature. Pine needles in my engine compartment. It shouldn't need any adjustment for temperature because it should already be set up. So we're probably looking at something else. I tested the accelerator pump. I know that works. So maybe I'm just not used to cranking it long enough on a cold start, or maybe I'm not pumping it enough, giving it enough gas. I'm not used to having to just pump the snot out of these trucks. Usually mine just start right up with 1 or 2 pumps, but you know, maybe half a dozen, or keep pumping it till it starts. It seems to want a lot of gas to get going. It's a $3,000 truck. People seem to want they want the moon on a $3,000 truck, and I mean, this is a truck I would hop in it tomorrow and drive anywhere, because I've been driving it for 2 years, and now more stuff works on it, like the oil pressure gauge, than when I was driving it. So, well, I mean, the oil pressure gauge worked, it just wasn't calibrated. And I mean, the rockers aren't rusted out. It just needs, you know, if you wanted to put a new front end on it, if you cared that much, at the very least a new hood. You know, the cab is nice and solid. In my due diligence, I will say there's a little bit of rust up here, and that's the only rust I know about. Everything else has either been patched by me, like the rockers or the floor pans. The cab corners have always been good, and up along the cab back, I mean, there's some surface rust here and a little bit just surface rust around the rear window there, but you know, it's really good, and up in here is really good. And I think around the windshield it's been caulked, but it never leaked on me. They just threw some caulk in there to supplement the seal, and that's the way it's been. It doesn't leak. But I mean, this is a truck you could get in and drive, and I mean, look at the seat. The dash is cracked, and again, this gauge, for $60 you could replace this, the see-through part of the cluster. Oh, did I say, I don't know if the I don't know how my keys, not sure the fan and heater part works, but I think that may just be a switch or something. It worked on the other unit. It doesn't work on this unit, so I'm thinking it's probably just the switch on the unit itself. And of course, these are mechanical things here. I guess I better get my keys, and should check that out while I had that bezel off. But anyway, I'm not going to fix that right now. Horn works, you know, turn signals, lights, they all work. E-brake works. So I guess the only thing I know for sure that doesn't work is that heater switch. Maybe it works, I don't know. It might be the resistor too. It might be the resistor that's in the engine compartment for the blower motor. Maybe the switches usually don't go bad. Sometimes they do, but I mean, the sealing is nice, and these oh hush. These visors are actually really nice. They're a little dusty, you can clean them up, but they're really nice visors. And I never opened the back window, but I mean, this is one of the few back windows the latch is there, which is pretty rare for one of these. Latch is there and intact. Probably never anybody opened it, but there's a little bit of caulk on there. Anyway, oh, and of course, I think I showed earlier the window cranks. I have them here. I I don't know, maybe I'll get the clips for them, but all they need is the clips and the windows roll down nice. Again, I wasn't going to put a lot of time and effort into this truck because I'm just selling it really cheap for what it is. You know, there's probably people out there who would ask $5,000 for this thing because it's, you know, ready to roll tomorrow, but I want to get it out of here. So, you know, what am I asking? $3,000, $3,100. So here it is. Come and get it, but bring me money. So, if your biggest hang-up about buying an old vehicle is that some of the body panels aren't the same color, you're buying the wrong vehicle. There's a site called Bring a Trailer for that, and you better bring the money too. This is not one of those trucks, as I've clearly demonstrated, and it's not priced like that either. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been doing this a while, and yeah, I mean, even any running, driving old vehicle with absolutely no mechanical issues is pretty hard to find. Anyway, thanks for watching and putting up with my grumpy old man complaints here on buyers, but feel free to like, subscribe. Maybe we'll have more on this truck if it doesn't sell. I don't know. Every time I work on a vehicle, unfortunately, I end up falling in love with it for a variety of reasons. I do, and unfortunately, working on this, I've fallen in love with it all over again. So maybe it'll go be parked out back as a spare work truck. I don't know. This is the very first vehicle that was featured on the channel, and I probably should keep it, and I'll probably regret selling it if I do. That's one of the reasons I'm not willing to give it away for free, because at the end of the day, it is a nice running, driving, square body truck that I would hop in and drive. And if you don't believe me, well, you can verify that because you can come test drive it. You know, I'm not afraid to let people test drive it because I know it'll do the job. Anyway, thanks for putting up with my grumpiness. As always, appreciate likes, comments, subscribes. I really know what you guys want to think about what I said about this truck and everything on the channel and potential buyers and all that. And leave the comments down below. I appreciate it. And as always, I appreciate all of you watching, so thanks for watching. I just want to throw in here, I've been trying to sell a couple vehicles in addition to my old work truck. I've been trying to sell this Jeep too. There's absolutely nothing mechanically wrong with it, no codes, nothing. This is a 98, and the only thing wrong with it is it has different color body panels, and this isn't from an accident. This is, if you look at my channel, you can see where these different color body panels came from. But yeah, I mean, I've documented this thing, and still I can't sell it without people trying to take advantage of me. I don't know if it's the market right now, or... And then when I turn down my offer, they get angry and a little bit, you know, put out. But I'm not trying to be mean to people, I'm just trying to be honest. If you offer me a straight trade for a vehicle that doesn't run, has less options, has mechanical issues, and I need to put a lot of time and money into to even get up to the value of this thing, yeah, I'm going to turn you down, because, you know, I'm not trying to take a loss here. I do have to make money at the end of the day. If you want to see more videos on me trying to sell vehicles and the feedback I get from potential buyers and the back and forth and some of the stupid things I say to people that I shouldn't say, it makes me come across as grumpy and cross and, well, not a good car salesman. If you want to see those things, let me know in the comments. I got screenshots and stuff. Maybe I can put a video together. I don't know if enough people want to see them or if this thing gets enough likes. I don't know. We'll see what we have down the road, but I have a lot of comments from potential buyers who do things like they spend a couple paragraphs, send me a couple paragraphs on Facebook Messenger writing how they really need and want my vehicle, and then they end up, well, will you take a straight trade for this old broken down thing? And no, there's no money on top. I just want to trade you straight up. And and then you tell them no, and they go, oh, I didn't want your vehicle anyway. And, well, yeah, you did. You just wrote a couple paragraphs up above in the thread telling me how much you did want it. So, whatever makes you feel better. Anyway, I got lots of stuff like that. If you want to see more, comment down below. Give this thing a like. If enough people want to see it, I can put something together, I guess, from material I have. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Thanks for watching.